The bold and the beautiful spoilers, the tragic fate of Brooke Logan, a heartbreaking turn of events *** in the world of the bold and the beautiful. Drama is always lurking around the corner, but the tragic sequence of events unfolding in the upcoming episode has left fans on the edge of their seats, eagerly awaiting every twist and turn. The long-anticipated storyline surrounding Brooke Logan's dangerous fall has finally come to a devastating conclusion, and it's one that will forever change the lives of the characters involved. As the latest spoilers reveal, Brooke's fate hangs in the balance after a harrowing accident, and the shocking aftermath will send shockwaves through the Forrester and Logan families. Brooke's fatal fall. The moment of tragedy. The tension between Brooke Logan and Ridge Forrester has been building for months. Their complicated and often tumultuous relationship has been plagued by past betrayals, deep-seated emotions, and the ever-present shadow of other romantic entanglements. Brooke, despite her many trials and tribulations, has always had a certain resilience, but nothing could have prepared her for what would unfold on that fateful day. It all began when Brooke found herself on Nick Marone's boat. The episode was supposed to be just another day of dealing with the chaos of her complicated life, but it quickly took a deadly turn. As she stood near the edge of the boat, an unexpected series of events unfolded. Ridge, never one to back down when it comes to Brooke, had been trying to gain her attention, but his actions sparked a jealous outburst from Nick. Fueled by emotions and trying to prevent any reconciliation between Brooke and Ridge, Nick steered the boat into dangerous waters. The situation quickly escalated when the boat's brakes failed, sending the vessel careening toward another boat. In the chaos that followed, Brooke was thrown overboard. The force of the impact and the powerful waves of the ocean sent her into the unforgiving water. The scene was one of complete panic. Ridge, unable to let her go, reacted immediately. His heart raced as he dived into the water, determined to rescue the woman he once loved with all his heart. But the conditions were more treacherous than he anticipated. The ocean's waves were large and unpredictable, the current strong enough to make his rescue attempt difficult and slow. As he fought to swim toward Brooke, every second felt like an eternity. The struggle to save Brooke. Ridge's determination to save Brooke was unwavering. As he reached her, he could see the desperation in her eyes. But the water was too deep, the waves too strong. Brooke's condition was worsening with each passing second. Ridge managed to pull her toward the rocks near the shore, but he knew he was running out of time. His heart pounded as he tried to keep her conscious, yelling for help. Every moment that passed seemed to stretch longer, and Ridge's desperation grew. The situation grew even more dire when Ridge finally pulled her from the water, but Brooke was unresponsive. Her body was limp in his arms, and her skin was cold to the touch. She had stopped breathing. Ridge's mind raced as he tried to revive her, desperately attempting CPR with all his strength, but nothing seemed to work. With no sign of life from Brooke, Ridge's heart sank. He had tried to save her, but it seemed it was too late. The arrival of the doctor, a moment of hope fading fast just as Ridge's panic reached its peak, a doctor arrived on the scene. The beach, once a serene and peaceful location, was now filled with the sound of urgent voices and frantic action. The doctor immediately took over, working quickly to resuscitate Brooke. But despite all of their efforts, the signs of life that everyone had been praying for were not there. The doctor worked tirelessly, but Brooke's body showed no sign of recovery. Ridge stood frozen in disbelief as the reality of the situation hit him harder than ever before. Brooke had slipped away from them. It was a nightmare come to life. The doctor's grim expression confirmed the worst fears. Brooke Logan, the woman who had fought so hard through her life's challenges, was gone. The Forrester and Logan families had lost a central figure, and the world as they knew it would never be the same. The reality of her death began to sink in, and those who loved her, especially Ridge, were left grappling with a devastating sense of loss. Ridge's heartbreaking response, "What comes next?" As the doctor confirmed that there was no hope left, Ridge's world crumbled around him. This wasn't supposed to happen. He had tried everything to save Brooke, but the ocean, the waves, and the clock had all worked against them. The loss of Brooke was not only a shock to the families involved, but also to Ridge himself. Over the years, Ridge and Brooke had shared a deep connection. Their relationship had seen its share of struggles, yet there was always something unshakable between them, a bond that neither time nor circumstances could truly break. Now, Ridge was left to face the fact that he could not save the woman he had once loved with all his heart. The emotional toll on Ridge was immediate. He had been the one to dive into the water to rescue her, the one to fight the waves, but in the end, it had been too much. The weight of guilt began to settle in, even though there was no way for him to have known the outcome. His heart ached with the thought that Brooke's death could have been avoided if only things had turned out differently. Ridge's grief was palpable. He would need time to process what had just happened. The pain of losing Brooke would no doubt resonate with him for years to come. But even in his grief, there was something more complicated lurking beneath the surface. Ridge had never truly let go of his feelings for Brooke, and now, in the aftermath of her death, he would be forced to confront the reality of his emotions. His relationship with Taylor Hayes had always been intertwined with his love for Brooke, and this tragedy could change the course of his life forever. Ridge's love for Brooke had never truly gone away, and now, with her life tragically cut short, it remained to be seen how Ridge would handle the fallout. The aftermath, a grieving family back at the Forrester mansion, the Logan family was about to receive news that would shatter their world. Brooke's sisters, Katie and Donna, were already devastated by this series of events that had transpired. They knew their sister had been struggling, but they had no idea the danger she was in. When the news reached them, they were struck with disbelief and grief. Their beloved Brooke, a woman who had always been the pillar of strength in their family, was gone. How would they go on without her? The loss of Brooke meant the loss of a crucial member of their family, and no one knew how to cope with the gaping hole she left behind. As the Forrester and Logan families gathered together to mourn, they were faced with the inevitable questions that death often brings. Was there any way to have saved Brooke? Could something have been done differently? These questions would linger in the minds of those who loved her, but the reality was that the waves had taken her away, and there was no going back. A future without Brooke. In the days and weeks following Brooke's tragic death, the lives of those left behind would be forever altered. The Forrester and Logan families would need to find a way to navigate this overwhelming loss. Ridge, in particular, would be forced to confront the emotional turmoil that had always been present beneath the surface of his relationships with both Brooke and Taylor. As for Taylor, she would find herself dealing with the fallout of Ridge's emotions and the inevitable tension that would arise from the complicated love triangle that had existed for so long. The grief would be heavy, and healing would take time. Brooke's death would have lasting repercussions on the lives of everyone around her, and the aftermath of this tragedy would shape the future of the characters for years to come. The Bold and the Beautiful had always been known for its twists and turns, but this heart-wrenching loss would forever be etched in the history of the show. The fans, too, would mourn the loss of a character who had been at the heart of the drama for decades. Brooke Logan's death was a turning point, and the repercussions would reverberate through the lives of all who knew her. The Bold and the Beautiful, Grace Buckingham's devastating confession ****, in a world where secrets often swirl beneath the surface, The Bold and the Beautiful has never been short of shocking revelations. And the latest twist in the saga has shaken the foundations of the Forrester and Logan families. The moment Grace Buckingham, the seemingly strong and stoic mother of John Finn Finnegan, revealed the truth about Liam Spencer's so-called brain tumor, everything changed. Grace's confession not only stunned Finn but also placed him and his entire family in an incredibly difficult and morally complex situation. What began as a simple question of Liam's miraculous recovery quickly spiraled into a tangled web of lies, deceit, and family loyalty. Grace Buckingham's decision to lie about Liam's condition was not a mere accident. It was a calculated move, driven by the overwhelming desire to protect her family from financial ruin and the consequences of Reese Buckingham's criminal actions. The ramifications of this revelation would ripple throughout the entire Forrester-Logan dynamic, creating a perfect storm of tension, ethical dilemmas, and heartache. Grace's confession becomes the catalyst for a whirlwind of emotions, choices, and struggles that no one could have foreseen. The truth about Liam Spencer's brain tumor, the shocking admission that Liam Spencer never had a brain tumor, was one of the most explosive plot twists in recent Bold and the beautiful history. For weeks, fans had watched as Liam's miraculous recovery from a near-fatal brain hemorrhage seemed almost too good to be true. Initially, it seemed like a miracle. However, as Finn, the devoted doctor, examined the medical records, he began to notice the discrepancies that would soon lead him to the stunning revelation. Finn's professional instincts told him that something wasn't right. As he carefully reviewed Liam's brain scans, he realized that the timeline of Liam's recovery didn't align with what would typically be expected from such a serious condition. His concern grew, and he found himself questioning the very basis of the diagnosis. To dig deeper, Finn requested access to Liam's full medical records, hoping to uncover more information. However, as he sifted through the paperwork, he discovered that the most critical records, particularly those related to the supposed brain tumor, had mysteriously vanished. This was when Finn's suspicions reached a boiling point. What was being hidden? Why would these crucial documents be erased? The truth was elusive, but Finn's persistence pushed him further into a corner. In a tense confrontation, Finn confronted his mother, Grace, about the missing records, and after some hesitation, Grace finally broke. She admitted that the entire brain tumor diagnosis had been fabricated. The truth was that Liam had never had a brain tumor, and the diagnosis had been a complete lie. Grace explained that her motives for doing so were born from an overwhelming need to protect her family, especially her brother Reese Buckingham, who was facing significant legal and financial troubles after his involvement in illegal activities. Grace's decision to lie about Liam's condition was an attempt to keep her family safe from the devastating consequences of Reese's actions, but it was also a choice that would lead to irreparable damage in the lives of those involved. The emotional fallout for Finn's reaction to this revelation was nothing short of a roller coaster. As a doctor who had spent years dedicating his life to saving others, the betrayal of his mother was a blow that cut deeply. Finn had been raised to value honesty, integrity, and professionalism, and the idea that his own mother had lied to him and to Liam's family was a painful pill to swallow. He couldn't understand how she could have done this, especially considering the potential harm it could cause. But as Grace explained her reasoning, it became clear that her actions were not born out of malice. They were motivated by a desperate desire to protect the people she loved, even if it meant crossing ethical lines. Despite understanding the motive behind her actions, Finn couldn't reconcile the reality of the situation. The fact that his mother had lied to him, and worse, had allowed Liam's family to believe in a false narrative about his health, left Finn in an emotional state of turmoil. For Finn, this was not just a question of loyalty to his family, but also a profound moral dilemma. Should he keep his mother's secret to protect her, or should he do what was right and expose the truth to Liam and Hope? The weight of this decision bore down on him, and Finn found himself questioning everything he had believed about his family and his sense of right and wrong. His mother's confession forced him to grapple with his own values and his place in a world where the lines between loyalty and honesty were becoming increasingly blurred. Finn's internal struggle was compounded by the knowledge that Liam and Hope had been living a lie. The impact of this revelation on their relationship could be catastrophic. If Finn exposed the truth, It could destroy the trust between Liam and Hope, tearing apart the foundation of their marriage and their family. But keeping the secret also weighed heavily on him, knowing that it was a betrayal of the values he held dear as a doctor and as a man. As the days passed, Finn became increasingly torn between two conflicting paths. His desire to protect his family clashed with his responsibility to be truthful, and this internal conflict led him to a crossroads. Could he live with the guilt of keeping his mother's secret, or would he find the strength to confront Liam and Hope and reveal the painful truth? The emotional weight of this decision would only become more difficult as time passed, and the consequences of his choice would be felt not just by him, but by the entire Forrester Logan clan. Grace's plea for silence as Finn struggled with his own feelings, Grace's position became even more precarious. She knew that the secret she had been keeping was unsustainable, and she also understood the devastating consequences that could follow if the truth came out. Grace pleaded with Finn to keep quiet, emphasizing that exposing the truth could destroy her family and potentially cause irreparable damage to their lives. She promised that her actions, though questionable, were driven by love and a desire to protect those she cared about. Grace, like many mothers, had made a decision to protect her children and her family, even if it meant living with a heavy burden of guilt. Grace's emotional plea only complicated Finn's dilemma. While he could understand her motives, he also knew that silence was not a solution. Eventually, Finn realized that the only way to move forward was to confront the truth head-on, no matter the personal cost. The idea of letting his mother's lie continue to fester and destroy the lives of others was something he could not live with. However, this decision would not come without its challenges. The dilemma of revealing the truth to Liam and Hope. The most pressing question that loomed over Finn was whether or not he should break the news to Liam and Hope. The emotional fallout from such a revelation would be devastating. Liam, already reeling from the trauma of his health scare and the emotional strain of his marriage to Hope, would be blindsided by the truth. The realization that he had been deceived about something so significant could cause irreparable damage to his relationship with Hope, a relationship that had already been tested time and again. Hope, who had stood by Liam through thick and thin, would feel betrayed by both Finn and Grace. The fallout from this secret would not only affect the Spencer family, but would also reverberate through the Forrester and Logan families, creating an emotional rift that might never be repaired. Finn was acutely aware of the delicate balance between truth and loyalty. He knew that telling Liam and Hope would likely break their hearts, but he also understood that hiding the truth would be an even greater betrayal. He could not continue to carry the burden of his mother's lie, and sooner or later, the truth would come out. The inevitable consequences as the story unfolds, the consequences of Grace's actions and Finn's eventual decision will undoubtedly create a cascade of drama, heartbreak, and moral conflict. The Forrester and Logan families will be forced to navigate the fallout from this explosive revelation, each member grappling with their own emotions and loyalties. Finn's decision to reveal the truth will test his relationships with those he loves, particularly with his mother, who will feel the sting of her son's betrayal. But in the end, the truth will set the stage for new challenges and emotional journeys for the characters involved. In the world of the bold and the beautiful, nothing is ever simple. Secrets, lies, and betrayals have a way of shaping the characters' lives in ways they could never predict. As Grace's confession ripples through the family, the question remains, how will Finn handle the aftermath of his decision, and what will the future hold for him, Liam, Hope, and the families they represent? One thing is certain, this confession is just the beginning of a much larger story that will continue to unfold in the days to come, leaving viewers eagerly anticipating what will happen next.